Well, time for another silver update with the dog cat here, Putin. He's a good guy, man. He's a real calm little cat, aren't you? Right? Right? He's calm except when he runs around like a nut. Freaking fast, man. Anyway, he's a good cat. Actually, I'm going to do a video on that guy, why I picked him versus the other ones. And it's because he's kind of like shy and laid back until he gets to know people. Then he's a good cat. That's really how he is. But anyway, and you don't do nothing stupid. But anyway, I want to get on with this thing with Rand Paul, man. Rand Paul, son of Ron Paul. And I put out things where I'm kind of suspicious of, well, I'm far more suspicious of quote-unquote alternative media, alternative politicians, and all this type of stuff. I think the really shrewd players got all the bases covered. If you really want to go alternative with politicians and stuff, you should vote for not one of the Republicans or Democrats for president. Definitely, because the insiders always have the races of the president covered, right? And your local area, maybe you want to vote the same guy in, whether he's a Republican or a Democrat, as long as he's a good person. But you vote them in every 2 years. You can change everything really fast. I don't really think Rand Paul is like people think he is, or Ron Paul and We Are Change.org and RT and all that garbage, and Alex Jones and all this crap people feed off of because they're sick of the major media. I don't think any of that stuff is really alternative. You just got to think on your own. But Rand Paul is probably going to screw things. He's trying to. It's not going to happen. It's almost like he's trying to block the nomination of Janet Yellen. Now, I guess, if we go back to sound money and all this kind of garbage, and I put out some things that were controversial about sound money. It doesn't necessarily have to be backed by gold. It'd be better if it's backed by something substantial and real, but really the basis of sound money is interest-free, debt-free, comes to existence without interest attached to it. That's the most important thing. But, I'm looking at this deal. The whole thing is getting all screwed up anyway. They're going to print their way into oblivion. I have medals, and Janet Yellen's going to help me out. So, Rand Paul, don't block her nomination. Let her freaking do her QE. And, it looks like since they had the government shutdown, there's a whole bunch of indications that show that the government shutdown was actually very bad for the economy. And another important indication where it's like actually bad for the economy is it's changed the outlook that people have on the future. That is like a major thing, because if you're very negative about something, that's not going to help you out, too. I mean, you can't be living in a dream world and all this kind of garbage, but if you're very negative about something, that doesn't help output any economic output, because people are afraid to, take a risk and change and do something new or whatever, That's a problem, too. So actually, I think one of the biggest indications that shows that the economic outlook has changed is people are more fearful since the government shutdown happened. Now, there's a number of things that actually affected real numbers and made some of the numbers lower about because of the government shutdown, and that doesn't help things. So it basically caused taper to be definitely off the plans. QE taper to be, not happen. It's not going to happen. I don't think they ever were planning on doing it. I think Ben Bernanke was BS when he was talking about we might taper. I think that was all BS. I don't know. He didn't even talk like he was gonna taper. He says we will start to taper, which means they're not going to end QE if the numbers turn out to be better, which is if the numbers turn out to be up to us a lot better. At a certain point in the future, they'll back off QE. And it killed the markets. I don't know if he really expected that to have that type of effect when he talked about that some months ago. But now it looks like since the government shut down, forget about taper, man. It's not going to happen. Because the one thing I actually think that is the most important thing that caused the government shutdown, caused detrimentally to the economy, was outlook. People's outlook on the future. That makes people like fearful of, going ahead into new ventures and things like that, or companies or whatever. That actually is a bad thing. It's when there's prosperity going on, people get more confident when they see a curve going up. They're like, yeah, I'll jump in that because look at all the money people made. That's when they screw up actually. But it's just a guarantee. This government shutdown is almost guaranteeing that there's not going to be taper. Rand Paul is not going to be successful in blocking Janet Yellen's nomination. I don't know why he's even trying to do that. I thought this guy liked silver and gold, man. She's going to help silver and gold, right? So who cares, right? That's the way I look at it. And, grow your own food, right? I don't know. But it's going to help silver and gold more than likely at one point in time. Now, the economic situation in the United States is actually not that bad compared to a lot of the rest of the world. And I'm going to point out another favorite place of mine. Just kidding here. Russia. Russia has actually had a bigger downturn in the third quarter of 2013 than a lot of places. It's actually the worst it's been about as bad as the 2008-2009 crisis. And Vladimir Putin has been promising, 5% growth for Russia. And that's like, forget about it. It's not going to happen. And part of that reason was due to weather. They had, the weather in the world actually has been kind of crazy. There's been severe droughts, and then there's been, one year, then there's been severe flooding another year, and it's screwing up the output of agricultural crops. And they had the same type of problem in Russia. Russia actually does produce a lot of agricultural products, and that screwed up their GDP. So they've actually had a bad quarter in the third quarter of 2013. So, we should have a A-Team network over, America Today over in Russia and tell them about all their bad stuff that Putin does and how bad they have it. And, go riot and riot and riot like Russia Today does over here, I'm sure that would fly, right? Anyway, and we could put some hot babes up there to tell the Russians to go riot. Anyway, but, that's my beef with those guys. But they're actually, in Russia, they're actually, they're having more problems than even the United States. And they have, this is where I don't want to put down the USA too much. Let's recognize the problems, but let's not knock the whole thing down. It's like, we have the 1%, and I talked about in Russia, they have the 8/100,000ths of 1%, which is less than 1 basis point of 1 basis point. It's like, it's less than, 1%. It's like 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%. Less than that has 35% of all the wealth in Russia. And they got economic problems in the third quarter of 2013. Well, Putin the cat doesn't like that, man. So, what the hell can I tell you, man? So, but Janet Yellen is coming on. Rand Paul is not going to be able to stop her, nomination for the Fed chair and all that stuff. And taper is out of the question because, the numbers went worse. The actual numbers went worse due to government shutdown, because of government shutdown. But the one thing I looked at that actually is the worst thing is outlook. People actually got more fearful when the government shut down. And you got to remember, it's not a solution has not been arrived at. It's just a postponement for so many months, 4 months or something like that. I think it's in February. The problem comes up again. So, and then we'll have Janet Yellen at the helm. So, that's why I kind of expect, that's another reason I kind of expect another mini, well, it's going to be high. I think the metals are going to go up a lot in 2014. I think they're going to hit all new records. But it's not going to be the super spike. It's going to hit that's what I think is going to happen in 2014, unexpectedly. I hope I'm right because I don't like giving bum advice on shit and I'm not pumping the metals, right? But I think that's what's going to happen. I got to go by my gut, on this because I think it's there's too many factors coming about that are going to drive the metals up. It's not just the QE, it's not just Janet Yellen, but the other factor is this: Syria. It's like the major media is telling, he's getting really pissed off at Obama. They're basically calling him a wimp on Syria. He blew the freaking deal that they could have stopped, Assad's gaining more ground and all this kind of crap. And they're going to probably push for war in Syria. And I think that's another factor that's going to drive up gold along with, oil and silver and everything else. But that's not going to be the final blow-off super spike. I think that the super spike's got some years down the road to go. Looking at silver right now, going up a little bit today, I don't know, it's like 22 something. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be over 50 in 2014. Sounds crazy, right? But I think it's going to go over 50 and well over 50, not 100, and go well below 50. Before it has its charge up to the super spike, which may be $150 to $200 in 2017, 2018. You remember, this is silver, man. Silver is the devil's metal, and I'm going to be very, very bluntly honest with my own instincts rather than be influenced by other people, because I don't want it, it's usually like when I go strictly by my own gut reaction, I am far more accurate than when I'm influenced by other people's opinions. It sounds crazy that it's going to go from 22 to 23 to well over 50 in a year, but I think it can very easily. And it will correct, because I think when it goes up that high, there's too many, like the events are, Janet Yellen's nomination, QE, a major correction in the equities markets going to inspire even more QE. Bad outlook is going to inspire more QE because this problem with the government shutdown has not gone away. It's going to come up again in early 2014. And Obama's being called a wimp by the major media, so he's going to have to act in Syria, and that war is going to cause oil and gold and silver to go up. And once it takes a life, people just jump on there. They're going to get all the silver pumpers and the gold pumpers out there, get more people to jump on it, because it's going to go up to thousands of dollars an ounce silver, right? They're going to tell everybody that, and everybody's going to be believing it. Once it hits 40 again or something, they're going to be believing it's going to go to a 200 inside of no time, right? This is it, folks, and I don't think it's going to be it. It's going to have another pullback before it hits that super spike. The super spike, I don't know. I think it's going to be at least 150. And I think that's going to be around 2017, 2018. So that's my update. And it looks like all the factors are coalescing. It's one thing back in 2012, late spring and early summer, that Netanyahu was almost ready to strike Iran. But it's another thing when you got the USA major media basically telling Obama, you're totally screwed up in Syria, you're a wimp, Assad's forces are winning. I think we're getting involved in Syria pretty soon, even though it looks like everything's been playing down. And, if we do, and Putin talks peace, I'm not talking about my fearless kitty cat, I'm talking about the Russian leader. If Putin talks peace, if we get involved in Syria and he's down, they're saying, the West and the Western elite, that guy will be smiling all the way to the bank, and he don't give a shit. He's just using that for propaganda. If these elitists in Russia give a shit about the people, the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1% would be giving a little bit of the 35% of the wealth they own of total Russia to some of the people. But they don't. They're full of shit. Skata, as they say in Greece. They're full of skata. So, anyway, that's the update. Just keep cool. Watch out for the alternative media. And, like I said, I want to keep doing these kind of updates in some ways, because I don't like what the alternative media usually says. Those guys are full of it too. You know what I mean? I don't like what the major media says. I don't like what the alternative media says. And I don't like what the guys that in the alternative media that try to scare the crap out of people and make money at the same time. And so I'm giving you a common sense. You know, our elite are pretty screwed up, but they ain't as bad as the guys on the other side of the world. So we'll just leave you with that.